Direct News TV. November 28, 2023. Israel-Hamas War Live News, Palestinian prisoners arrive home after release. The Israeli prison service freed 30 Palestinian prisoners after 10 Israelis and 2 foreigners were handed over by Hamas in Gaza. The heads of the U.S. and Israeli intelligence agencies have arrived in Doha for talks with Qatari officials. The Egyptian spy chief is also in the Qatari capital. 1-star ratings and threats, how review bombing is shaping the Gaza war. Every morning, when the coffee shop and art space phase opens its doors in San Francisco's Mission District, an employee writes a message on the chalkboard perched outside. Usually, the message is funny or a plug for coffee and art. But last month, as the war in Gaza erupted, a different message appeared: solidarity with Gaza. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Faye's co-owner Michael McConnell was out of town at the time the message went up. But when his phone started buzzing with notifications, he knew something was wrong. 1-star reviews were pouring in on popular websites like Yelp. Some complained about dirty looks from staff, others about bad table service. But McConnell was suspicious. Faye's does not have tables at all. And a lot of the commenters appeared to be posting from other parts of the United States, as far away as New York and Michigan. U.S. sends aid to Gaza. The U.S. says it airlifted over 54,000 pounds, about 24,494 kilograms, of aid items intended for Gaza today. The delivery, which was sent to Egypt, included medical supplies and food, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said in a statement. This is the first of 3 planned airlifts in the coming days. Gaza Palestinians hope for truce extension amid destruction, lack of supplies. Only 24 hours remain for them, Palestinians, in order to get prepared to face the new situation if the ceasefire is not extended. Generally, Palestinians are concentrating on getting much-needed supplies, including food, water, fuel, and gas. And they're also trying to take what remains from their destroyed houses, in terms of clothes, as well. It's also important to mention that the telecommunication companies inside the Gaza Strip are working on fixing all the damaged networks that have been attacked by Israeli forces. Many Palestinians have hoped that there are going to be renewed diplomatic efforts that might be made in the coming hours, which may lead to an extension of the ceasefire. PRCS says Israeli forces arrest injured person inside its ambulance. The Palestinian Red Crescent, PRCS, says Israeli forces arrested an injured person inside one of its ambulances at the entrance of Jenin Governmental Hospital. The arrest took place shortly after the PRCS said that its ambulance, which was carrying the injured individual, was prevented from reaching the hospital by Israeli soldiers raiding Jenin. The injured person had sustained a gunshot wound in the leg, the PRCS earlier said. French UN rep says truce is not enough to address humanitarian needs in Gaza. The French ambassador to the UN, Nicolas de Rivière, told Al Jazeera that the protection of civilians and humanitarian relief should be prioritized in Gaza. We need more. We need the release of all hostages, we need to move to a permanent humanitarian truce, and we need to move to a ceasefire, he said. When asked if there is momentum in the UN Security Council for a resolution calling for a permanent ceasefire, de Rivière said, "I hope that at some stage we'll be able to do that." He also said that he has seen some progress in trying to convince the US to support a ceasefire in Gaza. Father of released Palestinian prisoner says he was warned not to celebrate. Al Jazeera's Hoda Abdul Hamid spoke to the father of a boy who was recently released from an Israeli prison. Numan Abu Naim said that he received a call on Friday from someone introducing themselves as an Israeli army captain. Make sure that your son is cautious, make sure he doesn't do anything, make sure you don't celebrate, make sure you don't show any enthusiasm, Abu Naim said he was instructed. I told him there will be nothing of the sort, he said. Abu Naim added that since October 7, life in Israeli prison had become increasingly difficult. His son told him that his blankets, dishes, cutlery and even window curtains were taken away. The pressure is being exerted on all Palestinian people, not just our youth, Abu Naim said. Israeli army, Hamas fighters prepare for war during truce, analyst Omar Ashur of the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies tells Al Jazeera that Hamas and Israeli forces are likely using the pause in fighting to reconstitute units that are low on ammunition or have injured fighters. They are also likely shoring up defensive positions and establishing ground lines of communication, meaning a safe way of sending messages, supplies, and soldiers from one unit to another, he said. Hamas is trying to collect as much intelligence as possible on the positioning of the Israeli army, where are they setting up defensive postures, where they are going to move next, and so on, Ashur said, as well as preparing to wage electronic warfare. Ashur added that the Israeli ban on Palestinians celebrating the release of prisoners is aimed at hurting Palestinian morale and chipping away at Hamas's support among the population of Gaza. Meanwhile, the Israeli army will be very busy trying to do intensive intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance activities on Hamas, he said. If you're just joining us, here's a recap. 30 Palestinian prisoners arrived home to occupied East Jerusalem and the occupied West Bank after their release by Israel. Earlier, a group of 12 captives, including 10 Israelis, arrived in Israel after being handed over by Hamas. It's the fifth prisoner swap since Friday. One Palestinian teenager released from Israeli jail accuses prison staff of beating prisoners after October 7. Rights group Defense for Children International Palestine says Israeli forces have killed 2 children in the occupied West Bank. Israel's far-right national security minister threatens to topple the country's coalition government if the war in Gaza is stopped, as discussions between regional security and intelligence chiefs, as well as the head of the CIA, continue in Qatar over a further extension of the truce. Hamas spokesperson Osama Hamdan invites Elon Musk to Gaza so he can see the scale of the massacres after the billionaire voiced support for Israel during a visit on Monday. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.